Hi, welcome to Bonano TV's One-on-One with Dr. Kasonso. This weekend, we provide our views on contracts awarded to Grant Thornton, Zambia, and PricewaterhouseCoopers to audit the Zambia Defense Forces. We discuss the role of small and medium-sized enterprises in the economic development process in Zambia, the funding options for SMEs in Zambia in 2023 and beyond. And we give pointers on how small businesses in Zambia can improve their chances in accessing government-backed funding options. And we conclude with some public recommendations as always. So what I want you to do is to like, subscribe, and follow Bonano TV on Facebook and YouTube. And before we get started, I'll give you a few minutes to share this important broadcast with your friends and family on Facebook and YouTube. And whilst you are sharing that, I will let the legendary Vaselenge entertain us with a classic piece of Kalindula called Nemuine Nika Wango.
El sonido primitivo de África nos da el primer lugar en el mundo. La cultura y nuestras raíces.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Bonano TV One-on-One with Dr. Kasonso. We are live on Bonano TV. We are live on Bonano TV. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Oh my God. Okay, thank you so very much. We are live on Bonano TV. I'm sticky. what's happening? Okay, thank you so very much for the lovely piece of music coming from Serenje Kalindula band called Nemwine. The small business talk, part 5. We started this 5 weeks ago. Please share this broadcast with your friends on Facebook and subscribe to Bonano TV if you have not. We are live on YouTube as well, in case you did not know. Please quickly get to your Facebook. If you can't connect to Facebook, you are also eligible to connect to our YouTube. We are live as well on that channel. So before I bring in Dr. Kasonso, let me provide some business stats. Okay, here on Bonano TV, we monitor the performance of the kwacha at the close of business week. The US dollar to the kwacha was buying at 16 kwacha, 61 ungwe, and selling at 16 kwacha, 66 ingwe. The GB, that's a great British pound, was buying at 19 kwacha, 77 ingwe, and selling at 19 kwacha, 83 ingwe. The euro currency was buying at 17 kwacha, 721 ngwe, and selling at 17 kwacha, 27 ingwe. The South African rand was buying at 0 kwacha, 96 ingwe, selling at 0 kwacha, 96 ingwe as well. That's great news for you there. Over the last one month and a half, the kwacha has continued depreciating against all major convertible currencies. You must have observed, we too on Bonano TV, that has been our observation too. So the US dollar, the British pound, the euro, and the South African rand, particularly in the last 3 weeks, the dollar has maintained the selling rate above 16 kwacha per dollar, and this past week nearly hitting 17 kwacha mark. This is not good news for small businesses. It exasperates the perils of an important base economy. The weekly marginal declines in our currency value have a significant impact on business because these cyclical trends now exceed the monthly business cycle. We believe that the long-term solution is to begin scaling down the volume of imported consumer goods and increasing the local product capacity. Can our government place this country on a path to increase local productivity so that we can stop importing what we can produce? That's a critical step to currency exchange stability. Viewers, Well, viewers, those are the business stats for this week. We hope the kwacha can begin to hold strong. The downward spiral obtaining in the last 4 weeks will not be good news for Zambian business. No, on one with Dr. Kasonso, we launched a series of discussions on the business prospects of the Zambia economy in the post-IMF deal. Tonight, it is the Small Business Talk Party 5. We provide our views on contracts awarded to Thornton, Zambia, and the Price Waterhouse Coopers to audit the Zambia Defense Forces. We discussed the role of business and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, of course, in the economic development process in Zambia. The funding option for SMEs in Zambia in 2023, just after next month, don't forget, and beyond. We give pointers on how SMEs in Zambia can improve their chances of accessing government-backed funding options, and conclude with public policy recommendations. Please share this discussion with your friends on Facebook and subscribe to TV Bonano if you have not. We are live on TV, on YouTube as well. Now, to help us address these salient points, let me bring Dr. Kasonso from the state of Iowa in the US. Thank you, Iowa. Dr. Kasonso Kayamba Jones, welcome.
Hello, Ravi. Thank you for that warm message. We seem to be having some technical challenges here. How are you?
Doc, Professor, I'm very fine. It's unfortunate that we're having some technical challenges. I hope the message could be clear to our viewers out there. You know, they love us so much. They love Bonano TV and one-on-one with Dr. Kasonso. And tonight's topic, where we delve in discussion, you know, where government, you know, the UPND New Dawn government, you know, opts to bring in the Thornton, Zambia, and the Price Coopers, you know, audit firm to audit our defense forces. This is a very important topic, Professor Kasonso. I hope people are getting that. Now, Dr. Kasonso, I wish to also recognize those that are watching us. I've seen Mr. Melvin Simangolwa from Ndola, Zambia, is trying to come in and join us. He's listening attentively. Dr. Kasonso, there are vigorous discussions about this topic here in Zambia. Some prominent voices in the public square here at home are frowning upon the UPND government for contracts awarded to Thornton and Price Waterhouse Coopers to audit the Zambia Defense Forces. Professor Kasonso, what are the main concerns of the dissenting voices? Professor Kasonso, if I may ask.
Yeah, I have followed this conversation very closely, and I summarized the main concerns of the dissenting voices to the idea that the defense forces should be audited by Thornton, Zambia, and Price Waterhouse and Coopers. Yeah, so their main concerns, according to what they are presenting in the media, first of all, they are saying that those companies are foreign companies. You should not put the defense secrets in the hands of foreigners. That's the first point I have observed from that argument. And then the second point that they are saying is that that job belongs to the Auditor General's office, and therefore no private companies should be touching the files of the defense forces in the Republic of Zambia. And they are going as far as accusing the government of, kind of selling the secrets of the nation to the international community, because they've brought in these auditors using those. So at face value, those are the main concerns that the dissenting voices are putting up. And I can mention several names there, but out of respect and the fact that some of them are even family members and friends, I will not mention their names, but I will mention where they are coming from. They are mostly former government officials in the Patriotic Front and their surrogates, and also opposition parties who are paid by them. Yeah. So those are their main.
Okay, Professor Kasonso, thank you so much for enlightening us on, the concerns, those that are dissenting from dissenting voices. How do you evaluate their concerns, these concerns, Professor Kasonso? How do you evaluate these concerns? Thank you.
Yeah, Robbie, there are only two prisms from which you can evaluate these concerns. There are only, actually, if you want, you can even put them three. The first prism you can evaluate these concerns is from the concern of good faith. You have to trust that when they express concerns of this nature, they are doing that in good faith. That's one prism. And two, the second prism is that they are projecting these concerns from the second prism of ignorance, just not having the technical know-how around audits. And then the third prism is that they are expressing these concerns from the point of view of mischief. Mischief means that they've got something to hide, and they are hiding behind this noise that they are creating around this. And in my thinking, after providing the process of elimination, good faith, I took out good faith. Why? Because they mentioned that Price Waterhouse and Grant Thornton Zambia are foreign firms. Grant Thornton Zambia is a 100% owned Zambian company. Price Waterhouse and Cooper in Zambia is 100% owned by that. Now, I don't speak about this subject as a political card or a praise singer. No, I am speaking as not Sia one, but accountant one. I am speaking as the #1 accountant for my country, the gatekeeper. I'm the guy who knows something about this field, because if you go and read all of my degrees and my work experience, I am the accountant. Even here in America, before I became a professor, I worked in the Financial Audits Bureau of the largest state in this country. So I know something about audits, not just as it regards to Zambia, but as it regards to the global economy. And you see there yourself, God gave me the grace to be the global accountant. Price Waterhouse Coopers in Zambia has partners, and those partners are Zambians. And those partners have security clearance to audit anything. They have the skills, they have the global network that connects them to other firms under the same name or under the same franchise. And they have the resources that are global in nature. They are the #1 accountants in the world today. The same thing can be said about Grant Thornton, Zambia. So the idea that these are foreign companies is not a sincere concept. And I will not allow anybody in the Republic of Zambia to malign my profession. Price Waterhouse and Coopers in Zambia is run by partners who are Zambians carrying a registration card in Zambia. And they are responsible for their work. They are Zambian companies. They have a global presence and a global affiliation. That's what we do in business. We twin and we develop partnerships around the world. The same thing with Grant Thornton Zambia. So The idea that the dissenting voices are sincerely speaking against foreign firms is just stupid. Let's take that one out. Two, let's give them the benefit of doubt that they're speaking from the point of view of ignorance. This is really palpable because it's a failed concept. Because if they don't know that those companies are not foreign firms, but Zambian companies affiliated with a network of professional resources around the world, then they are probably speaking out of ignorance. This, here we can give them credit. The dissenting voices can be given credit in the sense that they're speaking out of ignorance. Yeah, because those companies are not foreign firms, they are Zambian firms. And the partners who run those companies are in Zambia. They have the security clearance and they have the top-notch skills. They are accountants, auditors number one, not only by global standards, that can audit anything. The other part goes to evaluate it from the point of view of mischief. In my field, Mr. Chihuluhu, anybody who has a responsibility to audit somebody will usually have the right, the permission, as well as the provision to subcontract a portion of their work. If we say that it is the responsibility of the Auditor General to go and audit this, the Auditor General as office has every professional permission to sub portions of their work. So you cannot say using cheap politics or common politics or politics of no substance, no style, no quality. You cannot use those politics to go and tag the office of the Auditor General that the Auditor General, he cannot subcontract. We see this all the time. Companies who are given a contract to audit can subcontract their portions of work for purposes of achieving efficiencies, for purposes of achieving skills that would be more expensive for them to acquire, but the other people would be able to bring in those skills. And also because of workload issues. Workload issues are such that some audits can be very consuming. So the auditor can subcontract their work. And that is provided for even in the laws of Zambia, that the Auditor General's office can subcontract their work to independent firms. So how on aggregate, how I would evaluate the dissenting voices about the contraction of Thornton, Zambia and PricewaterhouseCoopers to audit the defense forces is that the dissenting voices are either lacking in information or they are being mischievous.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much, Professor Kasonso. We appreciate for that contribution. Well, Professor Kasonso, out of context, do we have a provision in the Constitution of Zambia under a segment where there is Auditor General power, and the Auditor General can bring in a private institution to audit, an intended, a ministry? Clarify on that one. The viewers want to know that. Thank you.
Of course, the law is clear there. Anybody who reads the laws of Zambia, they will find a section that allows the Auditor General. The Auditor General is actually allowed by law to subcontract a portion of their work to an expert. So where is the noise coming from? The law allows it. And that piece of law requires, especially when it relates to the defense forces or the high stakes audits like of that sort, the permission must be sought from the president. So to the extent that the Auditor's General Office sought the permission from the office of the president, they can subcontract to other specialist audit firms or specialist audit firms. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's great, Professor Kasonso. We continue having some technical challenges, in our transmissions, but I hope the technical team is working on the system. Yeah. However, we proceed. Professor Kasonso, are you getting me, Professor Kasonso?
Yes, I am. I am actually getting and enjoying your questions.
Very good, Professor Kasonso. Today it was hot, Professor Kasonso. Now, the Office of the Auditor General is mandated to perform these high-stakes audits. Now, are there circumstances under which the Office of the Auditor General, General's office, okay, is allowed to subcontract? Of course, you have highlighted and you've answered that question. Now, Professor Kasonso, I am in town today and somebody meets me and they ask me today on one-on-one with Professor Kasonso, what are you discussing? I tell them some sections of our discussion will concentrate on the contracted auditors, from the private, firm to audit the defense force. Now, this person says, is this coming because we got money from the IMF and it's one of the conditions that we shouldn't be audited by our own, but we should subcontract? Professor Kasonso, kindly assist us,
No. In Zambia, we have to start doing smart politics. I implored people in the opposition and in the ruling party to do smart politics. Don't even try to drag the tail of the IMF over every issue. No. Government or people in offices, the Auditor General, can use best practice to make business decisions. Everything doesn't have to come from the IMF. The problem with the lack of education or lack of information is that even some things that are clearly out of the norm, we have to use a conspiracy theory to try and explain it. And that is not normal. We need to go back to normalcy in the way we do politics. The IMF should have nothing to do with this. The government of Zambia is at work. People voted for the government to go and work for them. But when the government is at work, people are trying to jump on the government to do their work. No, let them do their work so we can evaluate their work. Don't prevent them from doing their work, or don't try to put their work in a bad light so that when they are trying to work, everything looks subnormal. Then if that is the case, we are going to ask this government to reprimand those people who are trying to interrupt government work, because government must go to work for the people.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Kasonso. It's interesting that these questions can come. They are coming, of course. We lack education, like you've said, but we also want to know because people want to align to that. Okay, thank you so much, Professor. Now, what is the best practice when it comes to high-stakes audits, such as the audit of the defense forces world over? Professor Kasonso, you are a scholar.
Yeah.
Kindly help us understand that.
Best practice when it comes to high-stakes audits of that. That's a brilliant question, Mr. Mcheholo. Who gave you this question? But PF.
Oh, my. Okay, these are serious questions for the professor, directed at the professor.
Yeah, you see, when we look at best practice, first of all, we have to look at the very best. There is a concept in business administration, the area of my Ph.D. and advanced accounting in particular. There's a concept in benchmarking. Benchmarking, it means that we have to look at the best practices in our industry or in our field globally, and then measure the best against what we are doing. Okay, so let's take the contracting of Thornton, Zambia, Pricewaterhouse and Coopers to audit the defense forces. And let's measure that against the best practice around the world. So for purposes of this discussion, I can go through many different countries, including in the region where we are as a country. But for purposes of this discussion, let me pick the very best. I will pick the best defense forces in the world that has $3.5 trillion worth of assets and 27 separate agencies and has the highly most secretive defense secrets. When it comes to audits, who audits the defense forces of the United States? By law, just like in Zambia, the division or the individual who sits on the top of these audits is called the Inspector General in the Department of Defense. The Inspector General in the Department of Defense is the one who has overall responsibility for auditing the defense forces of these United States. But the Defense Department in these United States has 27 separate agencies and 3.5 trillion worth of assets. Who audits those 27 agencies of the defense forces? Go and look it up for yourself. Go on the Department of Defense for the United States. Go and find who audits them. Some of the same companies that are auditing have been contracted to audit in Zambia. All of those separate segments, disparate segments, are audited by private, independent, specialist audit firms who have the software, the personnel, and the top-notch skills to audit and express an opinion on the stewardship of those defense resources of the country. The DOD, Inspector General's Office, the Department of Defense Inspector General's Office, hardly touches any of the agencies. The only thing that they take responsibility over is all of that work plus the consolidated financial statements of the Department of Defense. And I think what is happening in Zambia is a square on point with the best practice of the best armed forces in the world today, the most effective and the largest armed forces in the way the audits are done there. So when the law allows the Auditor General in Zambia to subcontract, and they subcontract to specialist firms, audit firms, they are in line with the best practice. It's we, the auditors in the private and independent platforms or companies that go to audit the defense forces. And then the Inspector General audits the aggregate, the total part, and expresses an opinion based even on most of the work that are done by these firms. So what is happening in Zambia is not even peculiar. It's totally in line with the best practice. Don't go on the street after wade tomato yabola waemba kutuko buteko ili wale konka amafunde nife wanabo bonse bachita. That is why we must be mindful that maybe the dissenting voices, they have got something that they have hidden at the Ministry of Defense. You know, it reminds me, when I hear them talk, it makes me think about like bakosebaibe mbalala elo baya afisa kumu. And then umwine wambalala aingisha koba push kulia. So elo bakosebala mboko la punda. Yo, tetu mwete fi push kuno fi push vena fialo. Kuno kulia ma state secrets. State secrets in shimbalala shakuiba. So based on best practice, if you elect our government, if you win.
Excellent. Excellent. Excellent, Professor Kasonso. Thank you so very much. Looking at the best practices, you've really explained in simplicity. Fuebena Zambia ala tufuaye fintuwa filondolola, mufyangu kafi. Pant to adishupa sana. We are difficult in understanding certain things, So, but the way you're putting these issues, They're really sounding very clear, crystal clear. We appreciate for the wisdom, Professor Kasonso, and all that knowledge that we are always tapping from you. Well, Professor Kasonso, let's pivot to our business, our small business development discussions. Let's not forget about that. Dr. Kasonso, what is the role of a business and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, in the economic development process in Zambia? Yes, Professor Kasonso.
Yes, Robbie, we have purposed on this platform to every time we come on to discuss small business development in Zambia, because we know that the biggest problem in Zambia over the last 30 years has been the problem of employment. And this year, the Minister of Finance told us that over 7 million people in Zambia are in need of a job. And we know that most of the jobs are going to be obtained from small businesses. So the role of small businesses in the economic development here on this platform, we understand it as anything that we can do as a country through government or private individual efforts to improve the welfare of our people. So small businesses, they not only provide the products to improve the conditions of people, but they also provide employment for our people to be able to cultivate personal success or personal improvement or personal development. So the small businesses in Zambia are number one contributing to GDP, the gross domestic product. The Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Development told us that small scale sized enterprises in Zambia are contributing about 70% to the gross domestic product of the country. And also the Minister of Finance told us that they are contributing more than 80% to the employment of people in the country. But at the same time, when we look at their capitalization and their functionality, they're a very small portion of they're a large portion of the economy in terms of their GDP contribution. But we have to shift our focus from petty street politics to growing the small business sector that can be able to help us resolve the employment problems with over 7 million people who need a job. So we need to expand. Clearly, at this point, small businesses have developed the saturation point. So their role here is not only to provide employment or provide productive statistics, but to anchor the economy as the basis for growth. So the hope of the nation in terms of economic development is in small business development and in nothing else but small business development.
Thank you so much, Professor Kasonso. That's a very valid point. So, in short, Professor Kasonso, you are encouraging us to say those of us who have not registered ourselves into businesses, who are not yet kicked off or flagged out, flagged off our intentions to begin, businesses in terms of SMEs, we need to really hasten and just join the bandwagon, because it's already happening and the president is delving into that and his focus is on that. So if we choose to ignore, then we are left out. Well, that's a very good idea and a very, very good reminder. And I'm also reminded that soon, it's just about a month, we are already in 2023. Now, what are the funding options for SMEs in Zambia in 2023 and beyond? Professor Kasonso.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, for that question. I think that we have a responsibility as a media company to disseminate the information about funding options for small businesses. When we look at the budget for the 2023, the Minister of Finance did put up about 400 million, which is equivalent to like $20 million for small business development. And we know from their agreements with multilateral organizations that that money is a facility under the IMF together with the United States government. And then after the budget, there was another agreement with the UK government, which is with the Zambia National Commercial Bank, and it puts funds in the range of $50 million that is available through that facility, and that money is from the United Kingdom government. So from what we can see is that the 400 million kwacha now comes with almost over twice that amount, which would be in the range of 1 billion kwacha through the Zanaco partnership with the UK government. So to the extent that all these agreements, they are going to have funds materialize for business development in Zambia. Our people who are running small businesses in the country need to be ready to participate in these programs and to be able to appropriate these financial capitalization and funding options. And on top of that, there is another option of the Citizens Empowerment Fund, which also provides funding for progressive ideas for businesses. So our people who are operating businesses need to be awake to these potentials or options that are about to open up in the country so that they can expand their business operations and then go out there and expand their work and increase their profitability and employ more people, hopefully, and things like that. So those are the options that are available. There is a citizenship empowerment, and then there are these joint projects for funding small businesses with foreign governments. Our small business enterprises need to be ready for those opportunities. I was a little disappointed that some of the small businesses wanted to go to the Constituency Development Fund and appropriate money there. And they said they wanted to share in the national cake. It doesn't work that way. The structure of the Constituency Development Fund does not allow well-operated small businesses to seek capital from there because the amounts involved are very small, and they have many other avenues, like we have alluded to, that the government is trying to work on and putting in place.
Excellent. Excellent, Professor Kasonso. Thank you so much. This is Bonano TV Live. That's one-on-one with Professor Kasonso. We, I'm sure, having a lot of people that are watching us and, trying to follow this program. I know a few people that informed me that they will be following closely this program. People like Mr. Melvin Simangolwa, also the mayor of the city of Undola, His Worship, Mr. John Scariati. In the background, they were trying to find out if they could be brought in on the program as well. Let me bring in my teammates on Bonano TV. Greetings and a brief comment on or a question on topics tonight. If you are watching and following us, this is your time to come. I know, share, greet us, share your brief moments. You are welcome. That's Mr. Melvin Simangolwa. I can see him. You are welcome to Bonano TV, Mr. Simangolwa.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I see there is another person that is coming. Oh, John Scaliati. He's the mayor of the city of Undola. we have had a lot of discussions on this program. We want you to greet the people and also give us a brief comment. Also, if you've got questions on this topic tonight in relating to business, also the audit that is about to take off with the defense. Over to you. I'll start with Mr. Simangola. You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's an opportunity for me just to sit back and listen to what is going on. But we'll be privileged to contribute in whichever way that we can. Of course, the topic of discussion is yet to be. So we should be able to contribute to the topic. Thank you very much for now. We just want to listen and then be able to contribute later.
Thank you. Your Worship, Mr. Kariati, or Your Worship Jones Kariati, kindly greet the people and kindly give a brief comment or a question on the topic tonight. Thank you. Is Jones Kariati around? Are you there? I'm trying to get closer to my screen. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Yes, questions or contribution from the FB, YouTube, you're welcome, Mr. Simangolwa. Please, it's over to you.
Right. Yeah, I think just open up the brief discussion of the topic that is at hand now.
Okay, thank you. The topic, or rather, I had a couple of questions. I was asking Professor Kasonso, Professor Jones Kasonso. You know, in my earlier questions, though he said tough questions for him, I asked him a question. You know, the main concerns of the dissenting voices regarding the audit that's going on with the Zambian Defense Forces. And secondly, also, I also asked him, you know, how he would evaluate these concerns. He talked about all that, and also we said, you know, while I was here in Ndola, I met, you know, people around who asked me to say, is the audit, you know, in line with the IMF condition where we don't use our Auditor General's office, but we opt to, you know, we are forced to bring in, you know, a private firm to audit our thing. Professor Kasonso, as you know, explained that, and he went to the Constitution of Zambia, where he extracted the Auditor General's Auditor General Act, where they are mandated to subcontract, you know, and then bring in, you know, an audit firm of their own choice. Of course, that should be, you know, authorized, you know, and blessed by the president of the Republic of the country, Zambia. That issue we've already discussed. And we also looked at the best practices that, you know, when it comes to high stakes audits, such as the audit of the defense forces. You know, Professor, you know, has explained and given us, you know, examples of, you know, security defense forces #1 in the whole world globally. You know, he alluded to one or two very secretive and you know, sophisticated, you know, defense forces that we might have at exposition in globally, and then these are audited by private firms. And he also said you can go and Google these issues, you know, the United States of America, who audits them, you know, the UK, who audits them, you know, and so on and so forth. You know, he discussed that. Now, of course, because we discussed business one-on-one with Professor Kasonso, he also we also came to pivot, you know, to our small business development discussions, you know, where we discussed SMEs in the economic development process of Zambia, you know, and all that. And we also discussed, you know, the funding options for SMEs in Zambia in 2023 and beyond. Now, I know that Mr. Melvin Simangolo, you are a businessman, a renowned businessman, and you are also doing well to explain, or rather to elucidate, bringing it down to a common Zambian to understand what government's policy and direction is in terms of, equipping SMEs in developing this country. Now, the question that I had was that what are the funding options for SMEs in Zambia in 2023 and beyond? Would you be able to contribute to that, Mr. Simangolo?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Robbie. I'm grateful to Professor Kasonso, who has taken quality time to elaborate his point and also quote, the Constitution on the rights of the Auditor General to subcontract before I can get into the SMEs opportunities for funding and stuff like that. Let me just make a comment on what Professor Kasonso has alluded to with regard to the construction of an external auditor to audit the Ministry of Defense. One of the things that we really all need to understand that President Hakainde Hichilema has come to improve the economy of this country, and he's looking at establishing systems that will be able to work for everybody, not for few individuals. And then when you discover that when an individual who is at the helm of leadership, that is political commitment, that should be able to demonstrate transparency in what they are doing. They do not want to begin to do things that are hidden. And just borrowing also from what Minister of Finance had said in Parliament, to say, look, for many of our colleagues in the past regime, probably they may have been hiding under a blanket. Now that the blanket is being lifted up, and that's why they are jittery like that. So we do not want, if you are innocent, you have to let the system, proceed as it is unfolding. There is nothing to be afraid of. For anyone that had saved faithfully and they have done their work effectively, there is nothing to get afraid of. And this is the lesson even for us young politicians that are desiring to enter public office or political offices. We should learn something from the past of how our colleagues had handled the economy in the past. But now there is a serious government, a new dawn government, that is really making sure that they can separate the operation of government with the party, and making sure that there is no mix in terms of resource utilization. And the audit that is being proposed, it is just to ensure that everybody that is innocent will be deemed innocent if that audit is cleared by an external auditor. So we welcome that move and will fully support anything that will be desired for us to contribute to ensure that that succeeds. But now, coming to your question, what opportunities lies in the SMEs? Well, I come from a background where I empower young people to establish small and medium enterprise. I've established a training institution where we empower young people with skills in various skills, and these skills, these young people establish small and medium enterprise. So currently we have greater opportunities for the new dawn government that have introduced the CDF, where they are empowering young people through cooperatives and giving out of grants, and also from the small and medium enterprise development ministry, young people are being empowered with grants, and also from the Ministry of Science and Technology. So it is all these avenues that with young people or small and medium enterprises realize that there are these funding opportunity, they will access them and they'll begin to develop and build their small businesses. So we have greater opportunities now than ever before. And it is up to young men and women to rise to the challenge in order for them to demonstrate. Look at even the many opportunities that are there. Just the president's pronouncements that we do not want to import desks from outside. We want to encourage small and medium enterprise SMEs to begin to produce these desks and supply in these schools. This free education has a positive ripple effect where we have a grown number of young people back to school, and which also is demanding for more desks to be constructed or to be made and supplied to schools. So here is an opportunity for young people to be able to participate in that. That also takes root even for those that are doing courses like tailoring, to sew as many uniforms as they can and then be able to have an income. Also a ripple effect, it will trickle down when young people are trained in carpentry and in bricklaying. Then there'll be contracts for them to be able to build some of these classroom blocks in some of these schools where they are lacking learning spaces. So we have a wider opportunity. And that's where, if you hear about government creating an enabling environment, this is what it means. They are creating an enabling environment that will be able to enable small and medium enterprise operators or proprietors to be able to operate effectively and have an income. We want to be able to look at these vulnerable but viable young men to be empowered in different ways. And here is an opportunity for the government that is providing such opportunities for many young people to be empowered. That's my simple contribution that I can give.
Wow, Mr. Sumangola Melvin, that's not a simple contribution that would. This is excellent. You know, we are getting excited. You know, Professor Kasonso, what would you want to say about what Mr. Melvin Sumangola has just said? Any contributions from you, Professor Kasonso? Okay. Thank you so very much. I was saying, yes, Professor Kasonso, you are back. Any contribution to what Mr. Melvin, Sumangola has just said? Would you be able to say one or two things? Over to you.
Yeah, I just want to thank him for his generosity in terms of time and his concepts and ideas. That's what we need. We need a conglomerate of citizens to put their efforts in one pot and support a good cause. We are not going to be party to the noise and the mudslinging and the politics of ignorance and the politics of malice. Yeah, but we are going to focus on what can improve this great country of ours. Here is a servant of the people who has been elected, and he's working to help the country. So let's all help the country. What's Mangolo? I thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution.
Wow. Vantangi mwaloza kya kine twimsanshida wino kunyoka kukasempa kumwinilunga kukasama kuna konde in Vubwi. Vubwi has been trending for some reason that I don't know, I may not know, but Vubwi is coming out so prominent in the country of Zambia. Chirundu, they say, the circles of Zambia, they are watching Bonano TV one-on-one with Professor Kasonso, and also in our discussion, guest Mr. Melvin Smangolwa, who has reminded the general citizenry that the government of His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Ichilema, wants to, to really build this SME, wants to really bring in those that didn't do well in school and be counted to say they should be able to do something with skills. That's what he's talking about. And this is something that was not looked at, but this time we are saying this can be a great thing to look at. Thank you so much, Mr. Melvin Smangolo. Now, coming on to you, Dr. Kasonso. Now, you know that you're a scholar, and everybody knows that you're a scholar. We benefit from you. You're a scholar and practitioner, How can SMEs in Zambia improve their chances of accessing government-backed funding option? Yes, Professor Kasonso.
Thank you for that question. In the first discussion on SMEs, we defined them as a functional business enterprise. We did not put marketeers in that bracket. We did not put people who are just trying to start up something in that bracket. We put SMEs as actual businesses with an operational structure. So how this, government funding is very difficult funding. And the government funding is not like that our people need to know that. So what we need to have is an open consultancy. That I'm offering an open consultancy right now to our small size business enterprises in Zambia. The way to access this is, first of all, clean up your books. Number one, clean up your books. Let your books of accounts be in order. Let your books of accounts be in order. Because one of the things that the people who provide funding should look at is the cleanness of your books, the clarity of where the money comes from and how the money gets out of your business. So the financial statements, if you have not been preparing them properly, hire good accountants. Let them prepare your books properly before you can apply for these fundings. Secondly, identify your expansive capital needs. Identify your expansive capital needs. So what happens in business, there is, in my field, the language of business, the accountants, we have a little formula. The little formula is taught to us from the first day we enter the accounting class, and we walk out with it even on the last day. Even if you walk out with a Ph.D. in accounting like mine, you actually walk out with that little formula. It's A equals to L plus SE. That equation means the assets of the business are equals to the liabilities plus the stakeholders' equity. So the SMEs in Zambia, Varobi, they need to expand their A, which are the assets. Now, to expand your A, you have to identify business opportunities. So what our small businesses in Zambia need to do is to, especially those that are operational and have got offices and have got employees, they need to identify what they need for them to expand. And once they identify what they need to expand, they need to identify the money they have to pay for that. And they also need to identify the money they do not have. And once they know the deficit of the money they do not have, then they know the money that they are going to ask for from outside agencies, especially the government backed. Please, SMEs, do not go to the Constituency Development Fund. Go to the Citizens Empowerment Fund and go to the Ministry of Small Size and Scale Industries and go to Zanaco and find out what opportunities would be there for you to earn to be able to obtain extra capital to expand your operations. Now, in order for you to expand your operations, you need to identify the new products or the existing products that you can offer to markets that you have identified, whether in Zambia or abroad. So once that is done, then you can build competences around that, create a business plan, and go submit it to the funding agency. That is what the small size and scale business industries need to do, whether they are personally owned, they are owned by a family, or they are owned by a group of families, whatever they are. They need to clean up their books, and they need to identify their capital needs, and they need to identify the opportunities for them to expand their business. Thank you, Mr. Chiolo.
Wow, excellent, Professor Kasonso. If I'm to follow you very well, because I have to follow you very well, because I know my country people. If you learn that country people, okay. Now, fweve na Zambia, if you mwalondolo kwebati, there should be a formula, there must be a formula where we are saying assets must be equal to, liabilities, plus what's supposed to be there. Now, exactly, you have emphasized on assets. That's what you have emphasized on. You have said, these must be expanded. This is where investment must be. This is where people must work through. And then we are also in helping us to understand that our books of accounts must be very clean, because the funding institution is interested in seeing on how monies are coming in and going out. And that transit, that activity must be very clean. This is what Professor Kasonso is saying, if I'm to get you correctly. Now, Professor Kasonso, we are coming from a situation so in Asia, we're still having it, where if you see the president and his ministers and his MPs, we are coming in with the inertia of saying, naifwe, nobody munyu don to alatantama, baemupibe sukabushi, baemupibe sukuchifuvu, baemupibe sukubwana mkubwa, bamwambazi. Ngera tu abamona, kuna ndabachi komanda, nishibampira 10,000, bampira shingoko, nevo, nishi na tampa business. Now, the president is saying, that's not right. That's not the way to go. He's saying you need to develop, cooperatives, come up with companies that will be able to seek information, clarity of information from these organizations that he has put through. Vis-a-vis the CEC, the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission, and also, we've heard that Zanaco has received a lot of money, in partnership with some UK, organizations that are bringing this money to give to, SMEs, and this money will not just come in to say, I am a UPND member, and, we fought, we were brutalized by the former regime. Give me some money to start business. No. You must be smart at it. I think this is what, Professor, you are exactly trying to inform the nation. And I know Mr. Melvin Simangolo as the citizens of Kabushi, of Undola at heart. And he wants them to progress very well and understand this thing. Okay. Professor Kasonso, in view of the foregoing discussion, what public policy recommendation can you make for a hardworking government of His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema. Yes, Professor Kasonso.
Public policy recommendations this week. We have to take this very simple. The first one, it is in regards to these funding agreements with foreign organizations. I think that if these are targeted cleanly at small-sized businesses in the Republic of Zambia, there must be a requirement that 50% of the ownership and the economic benefit, at the minimum, is going to a Zambian with an NRC in Zambia. From my studies of the SMEs operational in Zambia, the majority of them are actually foreign-owned. They are owned by firms and families from other countries. Sorry, I don't mean to be a tribalist, but nderanda pali vamwenye malebanese avasungu muloko area yesu evachita own tuma companies tuma small holding farms notuma businesses to supply if into kuvena Zambia to later cooking oil and all those kind of things. Yeah, so the money can come from the budget, the money can come from the other organizations. But to the extent that these are the families and these are the organizations that are going to benefit, they may provide a job or two to the people, but the money will be coming in the name of Zambia, but it will be going directly to benefit families from other places. We are recommending that in the funding of SMEs in the Republic of Zambia, there should be a requirement that at least 50% of any company funded from those enterprises, whether for capital or working for long-term capital or working capital or joint projects, joint ventures, those companies should be owned by indigenous Zambians. Baka ondeva swamema. Nababemba nkonko ebafire bachita own ayama companies ale funded in the name of Zambia don't have big just because the company is operating in Zambia. The small business is operating in Zambia or the family has lived in Zambia but back to Zimbabwe, and then those are the majority who accesses those money. Zimbabwe. So there must be a requirement. We're recommending that there be a requirement that 50%, at least 50% of the ownership of the companies accessing these government-backed funding programs for SMEs. Those SMEs are owned by Zambians so that capital is staying at home. That capital is improving the working capacity of Zambians at home. That's what we're asking for. That's the recommendation number one. Number two, the government should encourage joint ventures between different SMEs, because some of the SMEs, they are confined, maybe it's an agricultural SME, their competences are confined to the products they've been growing. But if a farm in Ndola Rural can partner with a farm in Choma, and they create a joint project that is going to be in Chisamba, the government should encourage that, because they are combining their competences from across the country. And once they access that funding, each one of those will be able to have a role in supervising those joint projects. They are literally creating a new company in a new area. That is going to curb unemployment and increase opportunities for people in those local areas. So we can say a lot of things, but Fimbi, I think my recommendations Yambi, but for the take over to the pillar. That wala funfula valadi omundemo.
Mkwaye.
Eh,
Twatotela mkwaye. So mwamfu mwebekala chalo mwamfu ikisha. Ba meu binsimangolo abo. Mwebena Mushili Bonano. Na muba mwenabo. Mwebena Kabushi, mwebena Masala, mwebena Ndola. Abo mwaliveshiva. Ba binsimangolo abo. Kabie ni mailo. Ati umfwashani tumfwenso aswa. Something like that. Baletiro kwati kabomoneni bamisire explain okweba ati joint venture iri very important mwebena Zambia. If you atantameni filabeniko labeniko tube focused tube focused ele twala tampa business when we start our own businesses as Zambians fwebena Masala fwebena Mushili fwebena Chifubu ele twala tampa business chira muntu umomu tuletiro okweba ati when we start this business, we need to, to have a 50-50, introduction into formation of a company, whereby, now if we to something. I think, Mr. Simangola, did you want to say something over that one?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for us to tap into the wealth of knowledge of Professor Kasonso, and just to listen from him articulating a number of strategies and also policy advice that he's able to give to government, which is highly commended. And I know he's rich in with a lot of information, and that's the reason why he would rather bapela kofeka dionko, so that twakwata kiri ekiraka kyakwewa tiawe tureba fire wa professor bese tumfwe fingi or twaba kitayingenji, so that he can be able to then release more information on, and also provide guidance on how we can be able to, or to government, on how they can be able to support the small and medium enterprises. So it's such an opportunity for us to listen. I agree with him totally 100% with the 2 points that he has already alluded to, the fact that government should look at people with NRC, indigenous Zambians, because when these are empowered with resources, with capital injection into their businesses, we are assured that this money will not be externalized and it will remain in the country. And these young people that are empowered with resources will then employ fellow youths or employ other Zambians, and the resources will then just be used within our country. However, he is also making a recommendation with the fact that, look, we are not an island. It is always important to partner with people with either knowledge, and then we partner with them. They may be foreigners, but they may be knowledgeable in certain skill sets. And then when we partner with them, our businesses will be able to expand at the rate where we expect them to expand, and will grow a profit out of it. So partnerships should be encouraged. But a 50-50 partnership is the most recommended one, where Zambians also have a say into some of these companies. We have observed a trend where most of these foreigners that are owning or running some of these companies here in Zambia, they are only coming to abuse Zambians. But now when we have a situation where a Zambian has 50% shares, then they have a say over the profits and how to utilize those resources. So I totally agree with him, and it will be good for government to consider people like him to be able to, provide even more information on how best they can be able to apply some of these principles and policies in order to reach out to the Zambian, to the citizens of Zambia.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mangolo. However, allow me to say something, later on ask you a question, both you and Professor. Now, today, we are suffering from information and communication deficiency. In our country, we are suffering from information and communication deficiency syndrome. This is where you will find people discuss certain things like we are discussing here in terms of business and also opening a company, with a sharing of about 50% and the like. Now, other people are learning about this thing now on one-on-one with the Dr. Kasonso, most especially tonight. This is what they are learning. They are sharing about this thing today. Now, if we have malaria, cholera, and the like, sensors, and or any other important programs that Zambia rolls out to, there is an advanced party through ZANIS or the marketing, section of government that goes ahead to prepare people with their mind. They go around Malanj Cruiser navakwata these speakers if kalamba sana bali ndo mkoa inakwisa polio mukatwala abana bino bakabalase pa TV and on TV and radio. They will buy airtime. They will be able to explain this thing. Now today, Professor Kasonso, alas, we will tune into television, ZNBC, and any other, media from the government section media. You will not listen to any emphasis on how SMEs ought to conduct themselves, on how citizens in Zambia need to be ready about this money that has come. Nobody is doing that. There is no program. There are no brochures that are flying out to explain on how this money is coming. CDF as well. People are just saying, no, cooperative. Money is there. We are aware, that in the theory, money is there. But who is explaining to these people? An MP is in parliament. He's only got two legs and only one vehicle, which cannot be omnipresent in all his words. It can't happen. So what would be your recommendation? Thank you. Before we close. Yes, Professor Kasonso.
We need to be aware to opportunities within the economy. And we need to have people, we need to have media companies, not just us, the startup. We need to have media companies join the cause to tell the people what is there. The weakness we have in the Republic of Zambia is we are falling into the trap of loudness and noise on social media and thinking that is where the substance is. Very few people are able to earn a living through making noise on social media. Maybe only one individual is yelling because then they can get the donations from people. But our focus should be on what is going on in our neighborhoods, in our communities. And we need to focus on what is government trying to do about this. And then we need to work with the government. We also need to recognize the limitations of government. A strong government depends on strong citizens. So if the citizens are strong enough to appropriate the opportunities within the economy, then that government will shine to the world. So that's what we need to do. We need to be able to read the opportunities around us, disseminate them, share them, work on them, and improve our condition. One thing we here at Bonano is that we have faith and we believe in the Republic of Zambia. And that this nation that gave birth to us, that produced us, that built us and made us, can do well in the 21st century. But everybody should play their part. That's what I think.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, it's been a long journey. 1 hour, 30 minutes discussion, one-on-one with Professor Dr. Kasonso. We want you to tune in next time At the same time, today we came in a bit late at 21 hours. Next week, we are coming on at 20 hours Zambian time. Professor Kasonso, any last words before we close? And you may close. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Robbie. Yeah, so our viewers, we want to encourage you to follow us. Just go on that thing on the Facebook and click follow, and we want to bring to you every kind of information that we have in our possession, and to share with you our love for our country, Zambia, and its people and its chances in the 21st century. If the government, in sitting government, does well, the country is better off. So we err on the side of supporting the government, but we are not blind supporters. We are intelligent supporters. We are brilliant supporters. If the government does something that is unsupportable, we will tell you right here. But to the extent that we have a government, let's not behave as if we don't have one. The contracts to audit the defense forces are in order. Small size and small size business in the business companies and industries in the Republic of Zambia are good, and they have chances to succeed in our country. Let's support everything that is good, and let's frown upon the disruption of our way of life as a people. And from Bonano TV, I want to just thank you for viewing us today. The program went longer than we initially planned, but that's not important. What is important is we are in this together. This is our country. Every one of us is going to have to do what we've got to do to just make it a little bit better than we found it. And thank you. And please show up again on this platform. We are coming back with new topics. And thank you for viewing us today. And God bless Zambia, and God bless our viewers. Thank you for seeing us today.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Anyone?